Okay, let's jump right into it. Here are the classic brackets from Knot and Rope Supply. When you order these, this is how it'll be shipped to you. This is a center bracket right here. You can see what that looks like. Here's an end cap, and you can see what that one looks like. They're made out of brass, and if you look at the bottom here, you can see how there's these recessed areas. So wall anchors will fit in there nice and securely. It'll kind of hide those, and these brackets will mount flush. We'll do a preliminary mock-up here just so you can see how these go together. It's really easy. We're going to use 1.5-inch rope. This is braided rope, but any 1.5-inch rope will work. Twisted rope, braided rope, doesn't matter. You can see at the top here, there are the holes that the screws will go into. That's what they look like. There's a pointed tip on there, and that's just going to help it drive through the rope and engage on the other side. The tops are threaded. You can use a hand screwdriver. You can use a power driver if you want to. Doesn't matter. But that locks the rope in there, nice and simple, and then you do the same thing in the middle. Here we're going to go to the wall, and we're going to go ahead and mount these up just to give you an idea of how easy it is to install these. This is the end cap. You can install these vertically. You can install them horizontally. You can put them at any angle. Really doesn't matter. The point is all the same. They install the same way. We're going to use wall anchors on this one because it's straight into drywall. We don't have anything behind the drywall. We're using a 1/2-inch bit. And these are the anchors that come with the kit. They're pretty easy to install. We have a separate video that goes into this in more detail, but you drill that 1/2-inch hole, you pull on these tight, that allows the metal flange in the back to balance out, and that collar just sinks into the drywall. You wiggle it around to tighten it up. Once you have that, you break off the tabs, and there you go. Come back with the bracket and the machine screws that come with the anchors, and you put them in. I'm a big fan of putting both screws in first, lightly to begin with, and then you can come back and tighten them up later. That aligns everything. It just seems to work a lot easier that way, and that's what I'd recommend. Nice and tight, nice and secure. Now we're going to do the middle one. This is a little bit different. We're going to put this directly into a 2x4 stud behind the wall. We're not going to use a 1/2-inch drill bit. We're just going to use a small pilot drill. If you use something half the diameter of the wood screw, you'll be fine. And a lot of customers have found if you kind of pre-drill these into the wood first, it sort of makes things a lot easier later on so that you don't have to fight it so much. But this is a nice quick way to get that 2x4 ready for the screws. Now we're going to come back, and we have both of the wood screws installed already in the bracket. We line everything up, and we're just going to get them in most of the way to get started. Once we do this, the final few turns, we're actually going to use a hand screwdriver. It's a trick that I like, and it allows you to really make sure they're tight enough, but not overly tight. You don't want to break the screw. You don't want to strip it out from the wall. And by using a hand screwdriver, you can just feel right where it's going to need to be, and that way it's nice and tight enough. Perfect. Now we come into the last one. This is going to be another end bracket. Don't worry about that scratch in the drywall. This is just a demo. So we put the anchor in there, and we're going to cinch that up, run that collar up there, just like we did with the first one on my left. And we wiggle it around, make sure that tab is in there nice and snug. Once we have that, you simply break those plastic pieces off, and then boom, you have it. Those anchors are in the wall, ready to accept the end cap. Before we do that, we're going to go ahead and run the rope through the brackets first. I made a little mark on the rope so I can see where I want it to be, but you'll get the idea. We're going to first put the one end in there, make sure it's securely at the end, and we're going to come back with that pointed screw, a drill motor, and go ahead and run that thing in there, and that's going to attach it firmly to the one end, and then we'll just work it from there. Some people like these nice and tight like that, which is totally fine. You can do it that way. A lot of customers prefer a little bit of dip in the rope. How much dip is totally up to you. You can lay out as much or as little as you want. I'm going to run that screw in there just a little bit to lock it in and keep it from shifting too much. Then we're going to come down to the end and put in the final bracket. And you can make these rope handrails as long or short as you want. You just add in more center pieces, and the process is the same no matter how far you're going. Again, I'm coming down with the hand screwdriver just to make sure that's nice and tight but not too tight. We're going to cut the rope now, and I've figured out where I want it cut. With this step, you're really going to want to tape it first, and this is a critical step. We use some vinyl tape in our shop, but if you have electrical tape, that works quite well, or vinyl tape if you have it. The point is you want to tape about 3 or 4 inches and cut in the middle of the tape. Now I've identified where we want that cut. I'll just mark with a ballpoint pen and come back with the handy cuts, and nibble away here. And this tool is fantastic for cutting big rope like this. It really makes short work of it. Gives you a nice clean cut. We'll bury that in there and make sure it's all the way into the rope end piece. We want to make sure any twist is taken out of the rope so it doesn't look too weird. And once we twist that, balance everything out and make sure it looks symmetrical, we can go ahead and finish running that screw in there, get that tightened up, and then we'll do the same thing on the final end, and that's it. The job's done. Again, you can make this as long as or short as you want to, but this is how the classic end caps and end brackets work. Perfect.